Hi, Doug Davidoff here. I'm the founder and CEO at Imagine Business Development. I want to spend the next several minutes talking with you about a key concept to increasing the productivity, utilization, and most importantly, the output from your sales and marketing team. How do you build a strong customer acquisition GPS system? Now, this type of approach has been proven to increase sales productivity, sales output by 20 to 35%. Think about that. That's the equivalent of one new sales rep for every 3 reps that you have. A few years ago, CEB did some research on how companies were utilizing technology, what were they spending, what impact was it having? And the results were, well, they were concerning. What CEB found was that on average, companies are spending about $5,000 per rep per year more on technology, yet the impact on their sales conversions, the reason that they're spending the money on technology, has actually been negative. Now, while they're concerning, frankly, they're not surprising. Investments in sales and marketing technology have frankly been disappointing most sales and marketing organizations since the 1990s. As a matter of fact, the decade of the 1990s was famous for CRM implementation and CRM adoption. And CRM was the number one technology investment, the number one IT investment that disappointed in the 1990s. So again, it's nothing new. The interesting thing about technology is it will never be the reason that you succeed, but increasingly it will be a reason that you don't succeed or maybe even fail. It's a big question. Why, with so much money and so much attention being spent on tech stacks, well, why are they failing? The reason is we're actually inadvertently building what I like to call Frankenstein tech stacks. Let me share with you the 3 key reasons why investments in technology end up not paying off. The first is very small misalignments create huge disruption, right? The whole point of technology is to be able to automate. Yet when you automate, if you don't have real strong alignment, things don't work. Small misalignments create new forms of friction, create lots of disruption, and before you know it, you're spending more time managing the technology than you are doing your job. You get a reverse result, if you will. The second reason is, well, it's what I like to call the whirlwind. We think of technology as, whether we do it consciously or not, we think of it as a relatively simple change. Hey, we're just going to change the platform. We're going to change the CRM. We're going to change marketing automation. We're going to add an app or whatever the case may be. And what we have to realize is whenever we change technology, if we really want to get a result from that investment, what we're really changing is behavior. Right? We need to change what people are doing so that they can effectively utilize the technology. And the difficulty there is, we've all got full-time jobs. Our daily job interferes so much with what we're trying to do that good intentions fall flat. Right? You have to be very clear. What are we doing and how are we doing it so that reps, so that marketers, so that whoever is using that technology is able to do so in the context of what's happening in their day-to-day job. The third reason, we are making people think too much, right? Here's the bottom line when it comes to tech. If I have to think about it, if I'm a rep or I'm a marketer and I have to think about the tech, that's a problem. The key is if you're ever looking or thinking about making a change and you're looking at it from the standpoint of a change in technology, a tech initiative, a process initiative, a CRM initiative, any of those things, that's like strike one on the failure chain, right? It should never be a CRM initiative. It should never be a tech initiative. It should be a performance improvement initiative. The focus needs to be, how are we going to enable our people to do more with less effort? You see, what I've learned is we are so obsessed in this world with speed, And the beautiful thing about technology is it enables us to do more and more and more in less time. As a matter of fact, the only reason that companies are still spending the money that they're spending on technology is because the technology allows us to do so much more that it masks the loss effectiveness, the loss in effectiveness, the loss in yield that it's taking place. But here's the problem with speed. Speed doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. It certainly doesn't necessarily get you anywhere faster. And it burns up a lot of energy and it burns up a lot of equity in your market. What we need to be doing is spending less time focusing on speed, more time focusing on velocity. If you think about it this way, and this is somewhat oversimplified, speed is how fast are you going? Velocity is how long did it take you to get where you want to go? Right? Oftentimes what happens is if we slow things down just a little bit, we actually pick up velocity. Think of it this way when it comes to growing your business. If you think about the growth flywheel, attract, engage, delight, the way we get that flywheel moving faster and faster is to pay attention to two things. We want to increase force. That's where the focus on speed comes in. Do more, send more, call more, take more action, cover more ground, hire more people. Most sales and marketing organizations were really, really good at increasing force. But when that force isn't totally in alignment, when we haven't thought through everything, while we're increasing force, we're actually also increasing friction. Now, I want to be clear, all friction is not bad, but a lot of it is. And so the second component we want to be doing is we want to focus on reducing negative friction. That is the key to success. That is the number one secret to unlocking the latent potential in the investments that you make in technology. What are you doing to reduce or eliminate that negative friction? Now, here's why it sounds simple, but frankly, it's so hard. We tend to think of the secret of success as focusing on execution. And I'll certainly agree with, at the end of the day, it's what we're doing that's going to make the difference. So we tend to be really focused on execution. We also spend a lot of time thinking about strategy, but we never really think about the structure. The reality is structure is going to drive strategy and execution. There's an old phrase, culture eats strategy for breakfast. Well, structure eats culture and strategy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What is structure? Structure is a three-legged stool. It is the combination of the design of the system, right? And realize you have a system design. Your process, your MO works in some way. The question is it purposeful? Is it visible? And is it optimized? The second leg of the stool are the tools. That's the technology and other things that your people use to be able to do their jobs better, to be able to implement the system more efficiently. And the last leg of the stool is the scoreboard. How are people keeping score? That's ultimately going to be the key driver of behavior. When we think about system design, we want to be optimizing for customer acquisition. Right? And the way you make sure that your system is designed efficiently is, well, first off, you make sure that your customer acquisition process is designed in a holistic pattern. Do you have feedback systems built in? Then is that customer acquisition process built on a solid foundation? What's the economic model? What's the sales model? Where are you in your business life cycle? Playbooks are the articulation, the visibility of your MO. What is your way of acquiring customers? What's your way of selling? What's your way of marketing? When you don't have strategy and playbooks clearly laid out, then what you end up getting is lone wolf selling and lone wolf marketing. People are trying to work together, but because there's no single visibility of what is the way, everyone's making different interpretations on different things, and that creates a lot of friction. When the playbook and the MO are clear and you know what you're trying to do with the process, that's where investments in tech stack get unlocked. The tech stack is an accelerator. The tech stack is an enabler. Realize technology is not a solution. It is an accelerator or an enabler of a solution. The solution is what's happening up here, driven by the playbook. The tech stack makes that process more efficient, more optimal, more effective. All of this needs to be built on a solid base of data and metrics that are guiding decisions and helping you see what's working, what's not working, to allow you to make constant iterations and improvements to what you're doing. Now, here's the key to building that structure. Here's the key to making the system work for you so that your salespeople, so that your marketers become more productive and more effective. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. It comes from General Omar Bradley, who said, "Amateurs talk strategies, professionals talk logistics." To be a little bit more blunt, a little bit more direct, at the end of the day, a successful customer acquisition process, it's all about the plumbing. Right? And the difficulty when you take a look at how tech stacks are built, when you take a look at how the customer acquisition process is designed, the problem is we've got bad plumbing. And bad plumbing leads to poor execution, lost sales time, lost speed, higher costs, poor allocation of resources, slow, bad decision making, and it kills your velocity. So when you're thinking about your system and you're thinking about where can we automate the predictable, where can we enable our sellers and our marketers so that they can spend more time doing the things that they're best at, well, you've got to design what that process looks like. You've got to be really clear on what is the overall methodology that you're taking that enables you to acquire customers and keep them and delight them effectively. Right? One of the big challenges is we have a tendency to think this is how it's going to happen, but the way we design the system and the way it actually works, they're never quite the same thing. And if you haven't documented it, you can't identify where's the theory different from the reality, what adjustments need to be made to bring them into alignment, and where are the key inflection points that really, they're the few things that matter that really change results. One of the things that we've seen studying thousands of organizations is, frankly, they spend too much time on the things that don't matter, so they don't have enough time to spend on the things that really do. When the system's clearly laid out, when you know what it is, that's where the tools come in. That's how you utilize your tools to drive results. That's how technology becomes an investment and not just a cost. You need to think about it this way. You should never buy technology. You should only hire it. Right? You shouldn't think of technology any differently than you think of hiring a person. Right? We hire people because we're looking to increase our organization's capabilities. We do the same thing, or we should be thinking the same way about our technology. So when you're building your tech stack, you want to be thinking about what role does each piece of technology play, and how do those pieces of technology work together? Right? When you've got a strong tech stack that's aligned, that's where technology becomes an enabler, becomes a productivity multiplier rather than a friction multiplier. Last piece of the puzzle, what's the scoreboard? What are the key metrics, the key items, the key actions, the key outcomes that you're looking for that have causal relationships to results? The next reason why so much of our investment in sales enhancements, marketing enhancements, and technology don't pay off is everyone's got their own scoreboard. Everyone's got their own sense of the truth. The key to an effective scoreboard is, do you have one source of objective truth? Not just from a data standpoint, but also from a progress standpoint. That's why we use the term GPS. See, GPS is such a powerful metaphor because it creates that single source of truth, not just from, like I said, a data standpoint, but also a context standpoint. Where are we in relation to where we want to be in the context of the various barriers or issues that are at hand, so we can all be mapping the same route and working to optimize our outcomes. That's what the Customer Acquisition GPS program is really all about. The manner in which we implement the GPS program is highly dependent and contextual to what it is that you're trying to achieve. The goal of this next section is to give you a basic understanding, to chalk the lines, if you will, of how we approach it and what the process looks like when working with us. So here's the first question that you really have to answer. What's the purpose of what we're doing here? Is the goal about CRM or marketing automation platform implementation? Or is the goal really about performance or outcome improvements? The choice is yours, and there's not necessarily a right way or a wrong way. Here's the best way to think about it. If the objective here is about CRM or marketing automation platform implementation, and that's the focus, then you're going to be looking at our onboarding and setup program. Now, in this case, the way that works is we'll map the processes and ensure that the CRM or the marketing automation platform or both are designed to be implemented within the process direction and the desires that you have. In the onboarding and setup program, the focus is on getting the technology set up correctly. The process is going to be driven by you. In the GPS design approach, here we're focused on outcomes. We're going to work with you very deeply to understand what are the desired outcomes. We're going to dig in. We're going to assess your existing processes. We're going to see how you're utilizing things. We'll interview people in your company to get a picture of how do you think it should work? How do they think it should work? Where are the key friction points? In addition to the technology, what type of process performance might you need to be looking at, or process adjustment, to unlock and capture the return on investment that you're looking for? With the GPS design program, or the GPS design approach, we're going to be focused on the outcome, and the process is going to be driven far more collaboratively. When you think about what we're going to do to drive this type of high performance growth system, we're going to walk through 5 key areas. We're going to start off with a process audit. We're going to move to dig into the tech stack. We're going to look at not just the CRM marketing automation platform, but also what are the other pieces of technology? How is everything set up? Are you implementing what we like to call a vertical tech stack, or are you in that Frankenstein system and you're building out more of a horizontal tech stack? We're going to identify where are key friction points and how do you have to make sure that your entire tech stack works as one holistic platform for you. We're going to get into process design, map out some key components around playbooks, and also identify the key components so that you can establish that scoreboard that I talked about earlier. Within the process audit, we're going to look at 4 key areas. We're going to look at lead flow. We're going to look at the overall sales activities and what's a day in the life, a week in the life of a salesperson. We'll also look at it from the standpoint of marketing. We're going to look at the overall lead management and sales management process, and we're going to finish it by digging deep in terms of the reporting and analytics that you're using to make data-informed decisions and to drive ongoing continuous improvement. We'll map out what your full customer acquisition process looks like, operationalizing your funnel, defining very clearly what is the lead management or the pre-sales qualified lead process, and how should things be working there, how should marketing and sales be working together. We're going to look at the sales pipeline or the sales process, ensure that that's designed effectively. We're going to identify the key inflection points, identify areas and opportunities to automate and design that workflow automation, dig into the database to make sure you've got a good, solid database. Realize at the end of the day, all of this only works when you've got a solid database design and a program to maintain the effectiveness of your database. And we'll also define and build out the metrics tracking, dashboards, and analytics processes for you. Now, whenever you're implementing this type of performance improvement program, and frankly, it's a performance improvement program, whether you're looking to us just to support you with the implementation, or if you're looking for something a little bit more collaborative and for us to dig deeper and to bring some of the expertise and experience that we've developed. When you're looking at this type of process, it's really important that you look at it through the lens of 4 distinct phases, right? The first phase is what we refer to as the launch phase. Depending upon the complexity and where the focus is, it's typically you should plan a 6 to 12 week launch period. Now, in that launch period, things are getting designed, things are getting built out, and within that launch period, that's when the pilot program starts. That's when the new process, the technology does begin to get utilized. Your goal in this period is to really think through the key elements that will allow your team to begin to effectively utilize and take advantage of the investments that you've made. The second phase is an adopt phase. Now, this is where you want to be careful. You don't want to try to do too much too fast. Realize if you improve one part of your process, it's going to change every other part of your process. And so if you try to change too much or you try to change too fast, even when you're doing the right things, it can lead to greater disruption and dramatically increase the likelihood that the overall effort fails or certainly doesn't achieve the objectives that you had. That you had when you started. That adopt phase you should plan, like I said, a 6 to 9 month period. Here again, that depends upon the size of your team, the complexity of what's happening. The adopt phase establishes a strong base that's going to allow you to implement ongoing continuous improvements. Your goal is to set up your structure so that you never have to go through another launch phase. After you're through that adopt phase, then you get to move into an optimize phase. This is where the new system becomes the system. The processes, the improvements that you were looking to make become the new normal, and you've got that solid base for ongoing continuous improvement. Through that 12 to 24 month period, this really becomes your way. It becomes the normal, puts you in a much stronger position, and that's when you really get to step on the gas and go. Now, when you're looking at our GPS program or our CRM, marketing automation implementation services, what you're going to find is we focus in 4 areas here. There's the onboarding and setup, training and coaching, the system design, the GPS design that we talked about. And then post setup, we also do work with you on an ongoing basis if you want on the overall implementation. What this chart is designed to do is to kind of give you a feel or perspective of the different levels and depth of support or services that we can bring to the table, that we can bring to you. We refer to it as Basic, Pro, Enterprise, or Enterprise Plus. Please note that's just internal designation, whether you're an enterprise, whether you consider yourself an enterprise company, or whether or not the actual product that you're using is Pro or Enterprise or whatever it's called. These are not related directly to any particular product name. But what you'll see here is, in the basic setup, what we're doing is we're getting you set up. At a basic level, that really is just setup and implementation. The Pro level, we're digging deeper. There's varying levels of complexity all the way through to a fully customized implementation, design, and execution program. One of the things that we pride ourselves on here at Imagine is the ability to design a program for you. And the way to think about this and how we can design the right approach for you is to think through what we like to call the 8 dials that really drive the investment level. Right? What type of approach are we taking? How broad is the focus? How deep? How much are we doing versus how much you're doing? What level of build out are you looking at? The level of complexity, the flexibility that you're looking for, how fast you want the progress, how fast you want something done, the level of expertise required. And What's the length or term of commitment? All these dials can be moved up or down to dial in the right approach for you based upon the resources that you have available. To give you a little bit more of a perspective of what that looks like for each of those levels within these components of program, this is as a general rule, the price ranges at each level of complexity, the type of investment that you might be looking at to be able to unlock the performance of your team, to utilize technology, to drive greater productivity, greater acceleration, faster sales growth, and to lower your cost of customer acquisition. That's what it looks like. That's what it takes to build a customer acquisition GPS program or GPS approach. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Send us an email, chat, grab us on Twitter. We've got a number of other resources that can help you dig into what's involved to be able to unlock your investments and to achieve the objectives that you're looking for. And please know, if we can help in any way, we're here. Just give us a call, send us an email, send us a chat, whatever the case may be. Thanks for spending some time with me, and I hope to have the opportunity to talk with you directly in the near future.